Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens on the Road. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. A good topic? Let's do it. What's a celebrity death that has you thinking about it for hours? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Edgar Allan Poe disappeared for an entire week before being found in a bar completely delirious, calling out a name no one's been able to identify before dying in a hospital 3 days later of an unknown cause. It's unclear if she is dead. Shelly Misovich, she has been missing since 2007. Supposedly she was interviewed by police in 2014, but she was apparently behind a blockade of Scientology lawyers, and she still hasn't been seen publicly. By the way, Scientology is notorious for intimidating local authorities. What did you do to your wife, Dave? Going back a bit further than everyone else, Merryweather Lewis of Lewis and Clark fame. He also served as governor of the Louisiana Territory before it was a state. He was on his way to D.C. to settle some debt matters with the government. During the journey, he wrote a will because there was a lot of bandits on the road they were traveling. He also attempted suicide on the trip and had to be restrained. But that's not the weird part. Lewis stopped at an inn to spend the night, but he was acting very erratic, talking to himself and pacing around nonstop. Later, he had a heated and loud argument with someone in his room in the inn. The innkeeper's wife said she heard a scuffle and someone yelling for help, then several gunshots. Lewis was found dead with several gunshot wounds to the chest, and the local newspaper reported his throat was slit. The borrowed money he had with him was also missing. There's also reports that the innkeeper's wife saw through a slit in the door that he was dead and didn't do anything about it until the next day. Some servants also reported that they had heard someone yell about a duel around that time, and they said the body of a big chunk of his skull was missing. And it was reported as a suicide. Thomas Jefferson even said it was a suicide. What really happened? Did he have a mental breakdown and brutally off himself? Were bandits stalking him? Was it someone from the government or the military that he owed money to? So many questions. Michael Rockefeller, last seen in Papua New Guinea, was in contact with an actual cannibal tribe. Rumors that he was eaten. Years later, a picture of that tribe shows up and there's a white guy among them. Photos too blurry to tell if it's a native with albinism, some other white guy, or Michael Rockefeller. George Reeves. The fact that he played such a beloved character like Superman but was found dead under such mysterious circumstances, making you wonder if it really was a suicide or if it was something more sinister. Like, imagine if tomorrow they found Chris Evans dead by a gun that doesn't have his fingerprints on it with no gunshot residue on his hands, and it's just ruled a suicide. That'd be crazy. A different kind of mysterious, but Junior Seau, and by extension, Dave Duerson, both American football players who committed suicide by shooting themselves in the chest. Duerson specified ahead of time that his brain was to be donated and studied for CTE due to the number of concussions that he'd had. Seau's was donated after the fact. The mystery is because you cannot determine if someone has CTE while they're still living. They committed the act without knowing if what they feared was actually what was wrong. As someone who has had a lot of concussions and now deals with depression and mood swings, I think about them a lot. Elliot Smith's death was never made that big a deal of, but the details were always a little strange. It was suggested it was suicide, but he died of 2 stab wounds to the chest after an argument with his girlfriend. The coroner's report was left open on whether it was suicide or homicide. D.B. Cooper. I guess not so much a death, just as a disappearance. Guy jumps out of a plane after he hijacked it, demanded $200,000, is never seen again. According to the flight attendant he spoke to, he was quite calm and collected the whole time. Susan Cabot, who starred in a lot of westerns and B-movies, notably The Wasp Woman by Roger Corman, and had an affair with King Hussein of Jordan, which was initiated by the CIA. She got paranoid later in life and essentially became a shut-in hoarder. Her son, who had dwarfism, claimed a man in a ninja mask broke into their house and killed her. At the trial, he admitted that he had beaten her to death with a weightlifting bar. He said she awakened him, screaming at him, didn't recognize him, and called him by her mother's name. His lawyers claimed drugs he took to counteract his dwarfism and pituitary issues had caused a prion contamination resulting in a mental break. He got 3 years for involuntary manslaughter. He may have been King Hussein's love child. He died about 17 years later. I've tried looking up info about his life after the trial, but haven't found much. Trevor Moore, yeah. It's truly incredible what he was able to accomplish in life. He was the funniest guy I could think of when I was a kid, and still to this day stands as one of the funniest people in my memory. I'm not surprised by his accomplishments, but I was surprised by his death. I was more surprised to find out how he died. An accident? I mean, trying to S your own D is not something you'd think is lethal, but apparently so. But I think the one thing on everyone's mind at the time was, did he finish? Regardless of what actually happened, I believe he did. His last greatest achievement. So great it killed him. Rest in peace, local sex bot. I know it's a bit cliche, but the John Benet Ramsey case is one I can never stop thinking about. Were the markers, taser, or train tracks, a broken window too small to fit through, a ransom note that took at least 20 minutes to write, using paper from the household that mentions John Benet's exact bonus amount, the pineapple and milk after she was already asleep by Patsy's account, the 911 call recording, trace DNA on her underwear that may have just been a factory worker. It's all just too weird. I honestly believe it was someone in that family, but my top suspect keeps changing from year to year as I read more. Andy Kaufman, said to have died of lung cancer at age 35. Lots of people, including his close friends and co-writer, believe he faked his death. He apparently talked about doing it quite a bit. However, he has yet to make a comeback in the past 40 years, which leads me to believe he either didn't fake his death or died in an accident while in hiding, which is both a tragic and hilarious thought. His wife later suggested that he had been a closet bisexual. Apparently, she was told not to reveal this information until his parents died, and had actually died of AIDS. This makes sense to me considering the timeline. He died in 1984, and the fact that he was a healthy young non-smoker, not counting Tony Clifton, and had very little risk of lung cancer. Maybe this is all just people trying to make sense of a cruel and random universe, but I'm sure he would enjoy the speculation. By the way, this is what the REM song Man on the Moon is about. People are posting about Chester Bennington, and I genuinely don't understand how people consider that mysterious. It's like people started talking about, holy shit, did you guys ever look into the lyrics? He was telling us all along. Like, no shit. Linkin Park and The Prime were brutalized for how on the nose the subject matter was. Man who suffered with depression and addiction, eventually killing himself in the least mysterious death I can think of. John Podesta's son. The Lees. Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee. They both died by accidents. Bruce took something for a headache and his brain swelled up and he died. Brandon got shot on the set of The Crow by a gun that was supposed to be firing blanks. It's weird that they both died mysteriously at young ages. Norm McDonald. I love the guy. From Conan and ESPN award show clips, his sports show, his YouTube show, even his book was incredible. But the opening chapter of the book is him reading his Wikipedia, where someone posted that he had died. His turn to was, when I first read and saw all this, I didn't know he was sick. Finding out how long he dealt with it, and how no one knew was striking. Rewatching clips can be difficult. Sridevi, a Bollywood actress, died in Dubai from accidental drowning in a bathtub right after attending a wedding in perfect health. She also had a large life insurance policy that would only pay out if she died in Dubai. Whoa. I think we can think about that for hours. Your ideas? The assassination of JFK. I have my own theory as to who was behind it, but then who doesn't. I recently listened to an older episode of Last Podcast on the Left about the JFK assassination, and they made a very good case for how a lot of things add up to make it look like a Secret Service agent in the motorcade behind Kennedy may have accidentally fired the second shot that killed him. Like how the AR-15 was in service at the time and was known to be easy to accidentally shoot off a round, and immediately after the incident was removed and banned from government use, kind of fishy, and how Secret Service agents got drunk the night before and a lot were hungover. So the less trained motor pool staff that was sober ended up filling in to guard him. Plus, that gives a decent explanation of why the records have been sealed and keep getting resealed, keep this level of complete incompetence secret, because it resulted in the death of a president. Marilyn Monroe, good timing. Everything about her death is suspicious. It was ruled a suicide, but she was in the very height of her career. She was found nude and face down in her bed. Marilyn never slept in the nude, and Who lays in bed face down? It took the police a very strange amount of time to actively investigate, and it took a very strange amount of time for her to even be found. She had been sleeping with some very elite people who knew some very elite information. I mean, you guys really hit a home run on this. You named some of my all-time favorites. The Marilyn Monroe one coming after JFK was suspicious, but good job. Yeah, I have opinions on a lot of these. So, good job. And share yours below. I'd like to hear more. Michael Mosley. It just seems odd that someone who gave out health advice for a living and clearly knew his shit, he even did holiday safety segments on the show, made the decision to go walking in an isolated area in such a hot day, especially without taking his phone. I'm an Australian, and stuff like that tell people where you're walking. Go for walks like that in the evening, morning, not at peak sunlight. Make sure someone knows your intended route in ETA. Take a charged phone and minimum of 2 liters of water. Feels so intuitive. Surely he would have known all that. And then the footage of him walking around a village and apparently looking in distress. Why didn't he knock on a door and ask for water? Or even go to the ocean via a more direct route so he could at least cool off, if not drink? And his body was found so close to a beach that presumably would have been busy at that time of day. It just all seems very strange. I don't know what to think. If you'll count him as a celebrity, Caligula. Arguably the worst leader in Roman history, he would insult and mock his senators, sleep with their wives in front of them, and then exclaim how awful they were in bed. He'd throw people into the gladiator pits to die, and when they begged for mercy, he had them pulled out and their tongues removed so they wouldn't make so much noise. At festivals and games on hot days, he would have the ceilings and shades pulled back because he liked to see the citizens baking in the sun and passing out from heat stroke. His death is mysterious not because we don't know about it, but because he wasn't somehow killed in an assassination or conspiracy. Remember, this is a society where Julius Caesar was killed because his senators felt like he was getting ready to declare himself king, despite his general popularity with the people. Caligula was murdered basically at random. He mocked a guard's voice. The guard snapped and stabbed him to death in an alley. That's it. No grand plot to kill Caligula for the good of all Romans, just some dude who got made fun of and said, "Nah, this guy." Anus Cosby. Though it is inherently dangerous to be changing a tire on the side of the road, I don't think anyone anticipates getting shot there. For years it was considered a random, senseless act of violence, but in light of what we found out about Bill Cosby and his serial assaults, would you be surprised if you found out it was a setup of some kind? Gotta be Anthony Bourdain. He met with Elon Musk and Obama just 2 weeks prior to his death. Sure, they had a crazy girlfriend and all that, but he was traveling with his friend and his crew. Not enough reasons, in my opinion, at that point in his life to end from the standpoint alone. Not impossible, of course, and hung from a belt and door. Reminds me of The Wire when the kid offed himself in jail with just a string and a doorknob. Oh wait, it was people who offed him who made it look like he did. Anyways, Bourdain. Kurt Cobain. I hope I don't open a can of worms, and I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off, but I just don't believe that man killed himself. Maybe I'm a fan in denial since it was because of Nirvana I'm into music I am today. But there are red flags in his death that they definitely make me raise my eyebrows. His suicide note not only was a note stating his leave from Nirvana, but that last few lines were clearly written by someone else. You can see the difference in the writing. And don't get me started on that handwriting practice sheet they found in Satan, Courtney Love's bag. He had 3 times the lethal dose of heroin in his system, so how on earth could he have pulled a trigger? So many other things. Definitely worth looking into, but again, I could just be in denial. I don't know.